Hello and welcome to the WB Mason Coaches Report with Hofstra Women's Golf Coach Maren Crowley. Thanks for joining us this week, Coach.
No problem.
Let's get right into it. We'll talk about our tournament from last week, the Columbia Rory Invitational. 10th place finish out of 14 teams. Seems like the team just couldn't get untracked on the weekend. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed in their finish. You know, going into this, they were pretty amped up because of how they've been playing during the season. I think that this was definitely the most competitive tournament with teams like Harvard, Columbia, Dartmouth, St. John's, Lehigh, things like that. So obviously you want to really take a top 5 finish because you're competing with those schools. But, you know, they had a very rough day the first day. A lot of things were going on. You know, if you asked me 3 or 4 years ago when I first started with a 334, I probably would have been pretty happy with that. But with this level of talent on my team and just where we've come from, 334 is just not acceptable. Quite frankly, you need to be shooting 320 or better. If you want to win the tournament, you got to be breaking 300, as you could see that Harvard did. That's really what it takes when you're on a women's Division I team. Those are what your best schools are doing, and if you want to come in the top 5, you got to be shooting around 310 or better, which my team is definitely capable of doing, but unfortunately, it just didn't have it this past weekend.
Do you think the long layoff, you know, the week off with the holidays, do you think that had any factor in it?
Truthfully, I do. It was good for us in that the girls didn't have to miss school to go to the event. They do have to miss quite a bit. You know, it's not like other teams where, quite frankly, they can come and go for 24 hours. My kids are away for a good 3-4 days stretch, so they do miss a lot of class. So I was happy that we had the tournament over there, but, you know, I was torn because I want them to go home and see their families for Easter, but at the same time, I do think that it was a detriment to their playing because obviously when you're at home you have more distractions and things going on, and you know, you're kind of in a catch-22. Do you let them go home or do you make them sit in a dorm room by themselves practicing? So it really is a toss-up.
All right, turning to the individuals, Cynthia Chen ended up being the pride's top finisher. She finished 16th out of 74 golfers in the field. Shot an 81 in the first round, then came back and shot a 76 in the second round, which is her second lowest score of the year. You know, heading into, which we'll talk about a little later, but heading into the CA Championships this weekend, you know, how important is it that Cynthia is playing well the last couple of weeks?
It's great. I mean, you know, when you're playing, you really do need a strong 4 and 5 man, and that is what I really think helps a lot of these great teams, is that they're throwing out scores like a 77 or at worst an 81, and that is a true test of how great some of these teams are that win. You know, when you're throwing out 90s or, you know, you have to count a high 80 score, you're never going to win an event. And I really think that Cynthia, she struggled for a little bit at Monmouth, but then she came back that second day and she really buckled down over the break, and I could just tell on our second day at Columbia, she just had this positive attitude and she was happy. I just had a gut feeling that she was going to do well, and I think that this is going to give her a lot of confidence going into the CAAs because obviously she's had 2 of her best scores in the last, 4 weeks. So I think, you know, it's a true test of the work she's putting in and her mental game too, just staying in it and not giving up.
So actually last year Cynthia was top finisher for the team at the CAAs last year too, so you know, the pressure of the CAAs doesn't seem to affect her that much.
No, she's a very strong person, and she, you know, she's very diligent, and she works very hard, and she does put pressure on herself, but she just knows how to get the job done when it's time. You know, she doesn't fold if I have to put her in a leadership role where she's playing a number 1 or 2 seed, because quite frankly, you know, you do have certain expectations when you are playing the top seed. You know, if you come in and you're shooting in the mid to high 80s and you just played number 1, well, you know, you kind of feel like you're letting the team down, but she's tough.
Some other scores from the weekend. Erica Barnes was the second finisher, tied for 26. She had an 80, 81. She was pretty consistent over the weekend, and even more consistent was Jenna Masnick. Back-to-back 81s, and she ended up tied for 28th. These are two of your veteran players.
Yeah.
How you get them untracked going into this weekend?
Well, I have to say that I'm very proud of Erica because Erica came out of high school, strong player, from Connecticut, and I don't want to say she struggled her first 2 years, but she wasn't playing the best that she could. She had a few good rounds, but she's really, this year, she's just the most positive person you can be around, just a great person for the team, and she's coming into her own. She's playing real well. She's confident. She has new clubs too that she's been hitting that she's feeling really comfortable with, and I just think that going into the summer, I know she plays a lot of tournaments over the summer, and I think she's going to be even better in the fall. I think that it helps too that we have players like Jenna and Erica, who this will be their third time going to CAAs. It should be noted too that Jenna's second 81, she actually had an 11. So technically, really, Jenna should have been at probably at least a 75 or better that second round. She had some trouble on a par 5, but she's playing very well. She's getting in a groove, and I think that they're going to be a strong leadership role going into the event for these girls who have never been here before, some of them, Lauren and Marielle.
All right, let's turn our attention to this weekend. You got the CA Championships. It's at the St. James Plantation in Southport, North Carolina. Jack Nicklaus designed course, so it's going to be tough. What are your thoughts going into the weekend?
Quite frankly, I'm pretty excited because I've heard that this course is pretty challenging. It's very long, which is to the advantage of, say, Marielle, Lauren, Jenna. I do think that Erica and Cynthia are going to have to really hone in on their short games this weekend because they aren't as long of hitters as the other three. Obviously, the competition is pretty stiff. You have great teams there, James Madison, UNC Wilmington, Georgia. So to be playing in that field, sometimes I do think it's kind of a reality check too. When you're playing with these schools, you know that you're capable of posting these scores, but it's just a matter of some of these other teams are just more consistent, and quite frankly, that's the only problem with my team is the consistency. I will have, each of these girls will post really low numbers. I just need all 5 of them to do it at the same time, and that's what I'm hoping will happen this weekend. It is a long tournament. We leave tomorrow morning, and we don't come home till Sunday night. You have to stay focused throughout a practice round and 3 competitive rounds of golf, which can be tough, but luckily we had William and Mary, so they're kind of used to that aspect. The weather's not supposed to be the best. It's supposed to have thunderstorms, so I'm hoping that that doesn't play into it, but it's definitely going to be one of the best courses that we've played on this year, and the condition of the course will be the best.
Now, let's just talk about the weather a little bit. Is rain, does it help level the playing field a little bit?
Well, in my opinion, my girls are from the Northeast, so they have to play in all kinds of weather, whether it's cold, rain, sunny, windy, so I think that they're pretty seasoned when it comes to that. I definitely think that it will play a factor if it's windy, because like I said, the golf course is long, so now if you're adding wind to it, it just makes it much more difficult. If without wind, some of my girls like Cynthia and Erica, like I said, they're not long hitters, so they'll be hitting a 5-6 iron into the green. If there's wind in their face, now they're going to be hitting hybrids and things like that. So it's much more difficult to A, hit your target, and then B, to keep it on the green. So I think that that's going to be a challenge. But overall, you just have to play well. I always tell my girls, if another team's beating them, 2 words: play better. That's really all it comes down to, because it's the same for everyone. So.
All right, well, Coach, good luck this weekend.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And we'll talk to you next week, and we'll recap the CA Championships next week here on the W Mason Coaches Report. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.